Honor Magic 5 Pro shares a lot of similarities with its predecessor, and surprisingly, it even has some downgrades, but today I'm going to be taking you through the good and the bad with this new flagship from Honor. Like many other manufacturers this year, they've worked on refining rather than completely redesigning the phone, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just know some people like to see something new. Now, the display looks exactly the same as the predecessor, and that's because it is. We got a 6.81-inch 120Hz display with the same 2848 by 1312 resolution, but we do however get 1800 nits of peak brightness, which is a big step up from the Force 1000. Now, this makes it great for use even out in heavy sunlight, and overall the display is just a pleasure to use. The colors look great, it's fast, smooth and responsive, and we've also got the curved edges to give it that premium look and feel, and I haven't had issues with accidental touches. We've also got an upgrade to 2160Hz PWM dimming to make it easier on the eye, but to be honest, I don't suffer with any sort of eye strain, so I can't comment on the effectiveness. Now, we've also got a new discrete security chip for passwords and biometrics, and I have to say the fingerprint scanner is impressive. It just works well every time, and I haven't had any issues with it not recognizing my fingerprint, and as you can see here, even with the screen off, it unlocks fast and it unlocks every time. Now, it's the same story with the face unlock. It takes 2 seconds to set up and it works every time, although I tend to stick with the fingerprint as I find it slightly faster and I just generally prefer it. Now, over on the back, you can see that the Magic 5 Pro has a similar design to its predecessor with the circular camera module, but this time the back panel is molded into it with this even curve around the whole module. Now, I had a strange feeling with this because the first time I picked it up, I hated it. It just felt strange as my finger goes onto the curve, but then after a couple of hours, it felt completely normal, and to be honest, I think it's just me being weird. Now, we again have a triple camera setup, but this time it's a 50 megapixel primary, a 50 megapixel ultrawide, and then a 50 megapixel telephoto with 3.5 times optical zoom, and I have to say the cameras are pretty decent, but we'll get into detail on that shortly. Now, the Honor Magic 5 Pro is also a bit thinner than its predecessor, coming in at 8.8mm, although it's also slightly wider, but it also comes with a larger 5100 mAh battery. Now, battery life has been great and it's never run out on me. I've had plenty of screen on time, and at the time of doing this review, I've never actually had it drop below 20% battery. Now, one of the things I loved about the Magic 4 Pro was the 100 watt fast charger for both wired and wireless, but unfortunately, this area we see a bit of a downgrade. Now, we still get a 66 watt fast charge when using wires, and then a 50 watt wireless charge, and we also get a 5 watt reverse wireless charging. So it's still plenty and much further ahead of things like the S23 and the iPhone. It just would have been nice to keep that 100 watt fast charge. Now, I don't know if this decision would have been for battery longevity or a component shortage, or maybe even to reduce the price to consumers, but it is a little bit disappointing. It's powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, and this version has 8GB of RAM with 256 storage, but it's also available in 512 storage with 12GB of RAM, and the storage is UFS 4. As you can expect, with this hardware, it's going to handle anything you throw at it for both apps and gaming. Now, with the large curved display, it's just a pleasure to game on, and for those concerned about the synthetic benchmarks, I'm afraid I can't actually give you the numbers. Now, for some reason, Geekbench 6 and 3D Mark refuse to install via the Play Store, which isn't great. Now, I've had this a few times before with review devices where it won't install until I get the final consumer firmware update, but as far as I've heard from Honor, this is the stable update, so I'll have to update you guys on this later on. Now, apart from that, all the other apps have installed and worked fine. macOS 7.1 has been great to use without many bugs or problems. Now, macOS has come a long way from where it once was, and it now offers a lot of features within its own ecosystem, and you can use things like the Magic Ring that lets you control multiple devices with your mouse and keyboard. We've got Honor Notes for keeping notes and voice recordings, and we've now got Magic Text, and this can recognize phone numbers, websites, and email address when you're taking a picture of text. So now onto the cameras, and I have to say I'm very impressed with the cameras. One of the things I like most about the Honor Magic 5 Pro is that it doesn't matter which lens you're going to use, you always get great photos. I've had it on a few phones lately where they give us a great primary camera but then a subpar ultrawide, and this results in different colors between the images, but with the Magic 5 Pro this isn't the case. On all the photos we've got nice vibrant colors with some good dynamic range, we get great detail in both the shadows and the highlights, and this is the same across all of the lenses. Now, all these photos were just point and click without giving much thought to it. We've got some great exposure and pretty much exactly how I wanted them to be. Now normally this is the part where I'd be picking out the good photos as well as the bad ones, but to be honest, they were all pretty good. Having 3 good lenses just gives us so much choice when taking the shot, whether we want it wide, normal, or with the 3x optical zoom. We do also have the option for 100x zoom, but of course this is all digital and I guess it's nice to have the choice, but at 100x digital zoom the quality is so poor that I just don't think it's something I would ever consider doing. Now the selfie camera also performs well, and these were taken in difficult lighting conditions, and the portrait photos do a good job with the edge detection and blurring out those backgrounds. When it comes to video, it doesn't seem to be the same story. We do get good video, but it's not perfect. Now something I do like is the ability to shoot in log for higher dynamic range. You can shoot in the log mode, and then using the editor that comes with the Magic 5 Pro, we can choose from their predefined LUTs to match the style. This could be great for filmmakers or to get some great footage for Instagram, and you could even upload them to the computer and then use your own LUTs. Now it would have been nice for them to add the ability to upload your own LUTs to the editing software and not just be limited to their predefined ones on the phone. Now the primary camera shoots 4K 60 frames a second, and as you can see, the quality is good. Now this was in very difficult lighting conditions with the sun shining directly at the lens just after the rain, and this has caused some problems with lens flare, but the focus is great. Even when panning around, it retains focus no problem. Now one thing that wasn't so good for me was the audio with the wind coming at me. Now it does make quite a bit of noise and often my voice sounds a little bit robotic, so we'll just take a listen. So this is the rear camera, 4K 60 frames a second. We'll have to see on the computer what the stabilization's like, but there's a lot of wind, tiny little bit of rain, but the sun's starting to come out. Just do some panning, give you an idea of what the focus is like. Indoors, however, it was low lighting conditions and we got great video, and the problems with the audio were completely gone. So for most of the time, it's going to be fine. Just keep in mind, if you are under heavy noise like wind, you might not get the best audio. We'll just take a listen to the indoor audio now. Bang! Good boy. There you go. Now the telephoto was also good for video, and even when panning around quickly with the zoom, it retains focus well, and it autofocuses nice and quickly. Again, with so much wind outside, the audio from this video didn't come out too well. To take video from the ultrawide camera, you've got to go into the Pro mode, and it is restricted to 1080p at 30 frames a second. And as you can see here from the video, the quality isn't great. There's plenty of noise, and it's probably not something I'd use for video. Now overall, I like this phone. The problem I have at the moment is I wasn't given the UK launch price, but the EU launch price is €1,199, and that's for the 12GB plus 512 storage. So if you compare that to something like the S23 Ultra at €1,600 for the same configuration, then it seems a pretty good buy. Now Honor were always a budget brand, but in recent years they've been pushing their way into the flagship market, and they're doing a great job at it so far. Now this is a flagship phone with flagship specs and flagship cameras, and it really is able to compete. Now of course there are a few minor issues that we've covered in the video, but I have to say I would give this phone my recommendation. Now of course if there's anything I haven't covered or you've got any questions, then just let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But the link to the phone is down in the description below, so you can go ahead and check that out. And as soon as the launch is over, I'm going to place the UK price down in the description as well. But thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, smash a thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down twice, and I'll see you guys in the next one.